We're blowing every number that we have ever seen before. We beat every number in 2019. We have now eclipsed the pre-COVID 2020 numbers.
Every business is unique.
But the ups and downs we experience as we launch and run our businesses are pretty similar.
We're Harmon Brothers, the team behind Pooping Unicorns and other weird but successful video ads you've probably seen.
We help businesses grow through unforgettable video marketing, and we're no stranger to tricky situations. In fact, we embrace them.
The goal of this podcast is to show how your crappy circumstances could be the golden opportunity that leads to your next success.
You're watching Poop to Gold.
Welcome back to From Poop to Gold. I'm Benton Crane, your co-host and the CEO of Harmon Brothers. Today, I have a very special guest with me. This guest is one of our clients here at Harmon Brothers. So he's a very special friend of our whole entire company and organization. And he is the CEO of Next Vacay. This is Naveen Dittakavi. Welcome to the show, Naveen.
Thank you for having me, Benton.
Why don't you go ahead and give our listeners the overview of Next Vacay?
Sure. So Next Vacay is a team of 30 plus flight deal researchers. And what we do day in, day out is we take a look and see what one of my machines that I programmed has determined to be great flight deals. And the reason that we have humans vetting each deal is because each deal is looked at through the angle of would a real person who has a regular job take this deal? Meaning that does it leave at a reasonable day of week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that you're not burning PTO unnecessarily? Does the connection, if there is a connection, is it reasonable? Is it too short? Is it too long? Is the airline a good airline? Where you're connecting, is it good? We run it through these filters that only human beings understand. It's not just price, because if you want the best price, you could leave on a Wednesday and you can come back 2 Tuesdays from now, and yeah, you can get
in the middle of the night with a 6-hour layover, all that stuff.
Connecting in a sketchy part of the world. That's not a good deal for us, and that's not a good deal for our members. So the criteria is, would my wife and I take that flight? And if we would, then we tell our members in that area about it.
So it's a subscription service, right?
That's right. It's $25 a year is the cost of going to the movies back in 2016 when we started this business.
So you subscribe, and as a subscriber, you tell Next Vacay your home airport, and then Next Vacay is constantly scanning for deals from your home airport. And as those deals pop up, they're presented to you. And then as a subscriber, you get to see these deals. So for somebody who has some flexibility in when they travel, it can be a perfect way to see the deals as they pop up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really turning travel on its head, meaning that if you have flexibility more in where you're open to going, then you can get really great deals to go pretty much anywhere in the world that we feel is safe to go to. So instead of saying like, I really want to go to Italy, but if we find a deal to London, and if you've never been to London, well, why not go to London instead for $350 round trip? And Italy will be in the next deal you might take.
Give us some examples of some deals that pop up, because these are like legitimate, mind-blowing deals.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago when I was out in Utah, the team had sent a $275 round trip to Tokyo from pretty much all over the country. Now, many people think that these deals are only privy to the Los Angeleses, the New Yorks, and that's the furthest from the truth. I live today in Augusta, Georgia. We started this business here, and if we were able to fly to Europe from Atlanta or from Charlotte, these are cities that are within driving distance, and you be a member. We have members in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they're able to get these deals to around the country and around the world for really pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's kind of forcing me to think different about travel. It used to be decide where you want to go and then go look for the best deal. But instead, this flips it on its head, and Next Vacay provides the best deals, and then you decide, oh, cool, I want to go here.
Exactly. In our first year year of marriage, we knew that we wanted to go to India to visit my wife's grandmother who wasn't able to come to our wedding. Christmas morning of 2014, I woke up and a friend had posted that he saw something about a deal anywhere around the world that an airline flew to for $300 round trip. And that's what really started this journey for us. I looked at it, I vetted the deal. I said, okay, this is a real deal. I can see it on the airline website. And my wife woke up and she said, like, nah, this must be a scam. I was like, no, the deal is showing on the airline
it's
website.
Right here.
We put in our credit card, checked out, and then a few minutes later, the tickets issued. And then we called everyone we knew to let them know that a deal had come through. This is before the business. And I became addicted. And then later in that year, we booked tickets to Barcelona, to Munich in business class for $1,500 each. I mean, people were just like, how are you doing this? And that's when I realized that I was onto something, when people wanted to know how we were going to Europe for 4 days or 5 days when the normal American makes, their 2-week trip for the year.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you have to save up for months or years before you do it. But Next Vacay, kind of what you would typically pay to, fly 2 states away or something, now you're able to go international.
Yeah, I think my trip to Utah was one of my most expensive trips in a while, comparatively.
Because you knew you needed to be in Utah, so you didn't get to use the deals.
I had to pay whatever Delta wanted.
Talk to us a little bit about your experience and your journey in working with Harmon Brothers. So a lot of people kind of know that to get a big Harmon Brothers campaign, it's really expensive, 6 figures plus, that type of thing. And your journey of working with us didn't follow that path. It was quite a bit different. Can you take us through that?
It starts like I think most people who want something different for their business. And I came across Harmon years ago before I even had a B2C business. And I was mesmerized by the squatty potties and the purple mattresses. And I was like, what is this magic that's happening here? And why is it that I want to buy these things? I mean, I actually have so many of the products that Harmon has done heroes for, including the V1 purple mattress. Yeah, and I got the Aura brush from way back when. I use that every morning. And I was like, all right, so I want to know what's going on here. You weren't teaching at that time. Eventually, I've transitioned away from B2B consulting to B2C with Next Vacay. And I think a year or two later, you came out with Harmon Brothers University. And I was like, hell yeah. I want to learn from these guys. The thing is that we were already in hyper growth with the business. I was chomping at the bit to get in, and I went ahead and I think I started with a 14-day script writing challenge. And even though I was technically supposed to be a part of the live cohort, I was too busy running the business to participate. But I had the courses and I poked around after the fact, and I was like, this is pretty cool. They're kind of showing me how to do this. But at the time, it wasn't a priority, but I just wanted to know. I was happy to at least be in on some of the secrets. And I joined every course as well, but the same things. Like I joined it just to kind of poke around and be like, one day maybe I can do something with this. And that day came in 2019. So in 2018, I had sent a video crew out to Europe and South America with the Next Vacay members to do testimonials and gather B-roll and some, other like organic footage. But again, like it just sat on the shelf. And we had a couple of cuts, but we weren't. It wasn't a priority because we were so busy trying to capture the business that we were already doing. But then the brakes were applied real hard with COVID. Yeah, it was. I mean, we lost like 90% of our new customer acquisitions when COVID was beginning. That happened in March of 2020.
So your growth basically goes to zero.
Yeah. It starts to recede to a degree, and we're just like, what do we do? Is your dream slipping away? Is all this opportunity and all of this this time spent investing and learning and growing and building a team, is it just going to evaporate into nothingness?
And what was the size of your team at that point?
In the high 20s, I think about high 20s.
So there's already lots of people who are depending on you and your business for their livelihood.
Yeah, there's a lot of families, a lot of mouths to feed. And you're just like, all right, well, you're counting on future growth to be able to continue to keep those people busy with new opportunities. And, we were able to keep them on payroll because we budgeted for that based on current revenues, not future revenues. But you have to think about, do you need to make tough decisions here? Because if there's no work, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's a scary, scary feeling for an entrepreneur.
I haven't ever had to, and we still haven't, thank God. I've never had to let somebody go because of financial reasons.
That's so fortunate. So you're in that moment. This is early 2020. The world is going sideways. The pandemic is hitting. Like, we all remember, this is just, over a year ago, where it's all happening and all of us are going, what does this mean? What is happening? What did you do?
What ended up happening is a lot of our team began sending me ideas, and they were proactively sending new sales messages, new ways to reposition, and we began thinking about how to pivot, and we began fixing fundamentals that we took for granted. For a long time, we were so complacent with a lot of our programs and in our marketing because they were working effectively that we never went down to the nitty-gritty to look at what are the levers that we can pull to fix them, whether that's conversion rate optimization or even top line positioning and messaging. 90% of your business evaporating forces you to look at the entire stack and see where, if any, juice to squeeze and find new ways to forge ahead. After we got some of the fundamentals fixed, we were able to begin rebuilding and growing again during the pandemic. A travel business growing during the pandemic is pretty amazing. And that gave me more confidence that we would be able to have a business here that was going to stand the test of time. Because if we're able to service and prosper during a pandemic for a travel business, then that meant that I've got something here. And that opened the door to now thinking about how do we take advantage of those video assets that we had invested in. And at that same time that idea was coming up organically, I heard through Harmon Brothers University about Easy Ads That Sell, or EATS.
Yeah, that's a course led by our creative directors, Johnny and Shane, where they focus on teaching how to do easy ads that sell, just as the title of the course sounds, using either pre-existing video assets that you have or very inexpensive video assets that you can go create or collect. So you joined us for Easy Ads That Sell, and tell us about the experience and the impact.
Yeah, so at the third course into Harmon Brothers University, I had free time and I had video assets to do something with, and I had a video team that had bandwidth as well. So Alex and Brian are on our video team. I asked them, hey, do you want to do this live class with me? It's going to be taught by Johnny and Shane at Harmon. They can give us live feedback. We've all of these assets that you captured in around the world. Why don't we, do the homework and get the feedback live? And that'll probably be our best shot at using these assets. And we began taking the course together, and we were Johnny on the spot with our homework, and the feedback that we got was just really amazing. And we created some really beautiful assets from EATS. And then when I went to go launch the assets at the end of the course, I was seeing 3 to 4x return compared to control. And I was just holy crap, that is what we got with the Harmon Brothers formulas when we just did the homework ourselves. And I was what if Harmon Brothers did this for me? Well, Shane and Johnny reached out to kind of do an end of course a survey to see how was the performance going of the EATS assets. And then I was yeah, it's going really well. I would really like to work with you guys. What does it take to work with you guys? And then Shane is it's pretty pricey, but we got a couple of different options. And he's and I was yeah, I can probably make that work. And he put me in touch with Kurt, and Kurt kind of gave me the lay of the land and had shared with me some of your internal numbers of what happens when a Harmon Brother video is produced, whether it's a hero or a sprint, in terms of return on investment for a business. I was how could I not work with you guys?
Yeah, it's always a risk, but it's a calculated risk when you see, okay, here's the cost, but here's the potential upside. And, if you're thinking about it in terms of bets, if you will, if you're at a casino placing a bet, those are pretty good odds.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in the COVID era, I really had nothing else I could do but to plan for when this was going to transition to like a new normal where there would be a resumption in travel. I was fortunate because my wife is a COVID doctor, a hospitalist physician, and I was seeing in real time how they were progressing in the treatment of the disease. And I was able to kind of keep an ear on the ground to know that there was likely going to be a transition to where this would be something that we learned to live with, and that treatments and vaccines were likely to be in the near future. So knowing that and having that kind of intel allowed for me to have the confidence to make such an investment during the height of COVID.
You describe that like it's kind of like just a simple decision and, it's just a very logical thing. But the reality is, if you look across the scope of businesses out there, particularly the ones in the travel industry, making decisions like that to lean in during the pandemic, knowing that it will position you for post-pandemic growth and success, so many businesses did not do that. Take the rental car industry, for example. Rental car companies are always turning over their inventory of cars, so they always have cars that they're selling off while they're always purchasing new vehicles to keep their fleet fresh, right? And if I understand correctly, most of the rental car companies across the industry, they canceled all their orders for new cars coming in, but they continued to sell off their old inventory so that they were intentionally shrink their inventory, to account for all the lost revenue that hit during that time. And of course, once the pandemic started to ease and travel started to pick back up, it wasn't as if they could just snap their fingers and get a whole new fleet of cars in. And so now they're trying to service demand that's reappeared, and they don't have the supply of vehicles to do it with. And so now across the industry, you hear reports all the time that like there's not a single rental car available in the whole city. And so now they're struggling to actually grow, even though the travel industry is back in growth mode. So I take my hat off to you for having both the courage and the foresight to lean in even when it's scary and most of the people around you are not leaning in. They're pulling back instead. And that's one of the things that we've just admired the heck out of you for. And I think that takes courage and leadership. So well done.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly easier to do when you surround yourself with really great people who are willing to bring you their all. I certainly wanted to be the best Harmon client and the best student I could ever be. I prepped like crazy for our onboarding, but to know that like I was going to be in good hands, it meant a lot. For Harmon to have their faith in me and for me to put my faith in you has been extraordinarily fruitful for both of us.
And how's the business doing today?
It's just night and day. During COVID, I had trouble sleeping because of the stress and anxiety of wondering what's going to happen to this thing. Now I have trouble sleeping because I need as much time as I can to get my hands on. And it's a good place to be. We're blowing every number that we have ever seen before. We beat every number in 2019. We have now eclipsed the pre-COVID 2020 numbers. It's just been incredible. And it's because you're getting that multiplicative effect by having fixed fundamentals in advance of the resurgence of travel that we're seeing the results of those multiples. And so far we've deployed our Harmon Brothers Sprint. It has really worked wonders in terms of helping people understand our value proposition and messaging. I mean, the way that your team describes our business is better than even how I as a founder could ever describe our business.
Yeah, sometimes it's helpful to have some outside perspective, help put language around what you're doing, because when you're so close to it, sometimes you suffer from the curse of knowledge without even realizing it. Well, this has been so fantastic to get a chance to visit with you and introduce you to our listeners. And of course, for our listeners, make sure to check out nextvacay.com. It's a no-brainer. It's $25 a year, and it saves you hundreds or thousands on travel, depending on how much you travel. So Naveen, how else can our listeners stay in touch with you?
Yeah, nextvacay.com is how we can help your listeners actually travel more. And I think we publish on LinkedIn as well and on Twitter some travel insights. And stay tuned for our Harmon Brothers hero. We will find you.
Yep. Yes, we will. Big stuff coming down the pipe. So thanks again, Naveen. Pleasure to have you on the show. For our listeners, if you like what you've heard and you're interested in learning more, just make sure to check out harmonbrothers.com and drop us a line if you'd like to explore anything further. Thank you and see you on the next one.
Has the marketing for your business plateaued? At Harmon Brothers, we offer a free marketing audit where we can go in and identify areas where you can level up so you can get back into rapid growth. Just go to harmonbrothers.com/audit and you can sign up for a free marketing audit today.
Use our team's collective experience to turn your marketing weaknesses into strengths.
Check it out. You won't be disappointed.